How NATO reacted to the Kursk invasion, why the United States does not give us permission to hit Russian military facilities with long-range weapons, will the Russians' hatred of Putin grow into large-scale riots of disobedience, and what new details of the F-16's crash we should know now? This and other topic we will discuss today. My name is Irina Uzlova, and with us today is Alexander Musienko, a military expert and head of the Center for Military Legal Studies. Alexander, glad to see you. Hello, thank you for joining.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Ukrainian government delegation in USA discusses weapons for military, energy, security commitments. The Ukrainian delegation met with national security advisors from the United States, the United Kingdom, Germany and France. They discussed assistance to Ukraine and security commitments according to the presidential office. The parties discussed strengthening Ukraine's air defense and energy security. Yermak emphasized the importance of transferring the necessary weapons and equipment. Umerov spoke about the situation on the battlefield and the needs of the Ukrainian Armed Forces. The meeting also focused on expanding opportunities for joint arms production and investments in Ukraine's defense industry. But Ukraine Defense Minister Rustem Umerov met with Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin. Umerov spoke about the situation on the front line, the need for weapons, Russian attacks on the energy sector, and the development of the Ukrainian defense industry. According to CNN, we saw earlier this week that Yermak and Umerov wanted to convince Joe Biden's administration to allow Ukraine to strike Russia with long-range missiles during their visit to the United States. But what do we see? We see that Pentagon keep silence. The Pentagon was silent on the authorization of strikes on the Russian Federation after Austin's meeting with Umerov. Have we failed to convince the White House to give us permission to use long-range weapons for legitimate military purposes in Russia? What are they waiting for? Maybe what are they afraid of? And when we see this permission?
Well, I'm optimistic because of this, because I think that we will see this permission. And I think that United States and our other Western partners, by the way, we can see that right now United Kingdom and France, they already did. They already gave us permission to use their produced missiles. British-produced missiles, Storm Shadow, or France-produced missiles, Scalp-G. Britain and France allowing to do this. But unfortunately, we do not have still permission from the United States of America. That's why, of course, we cannot use Storm Shadow missile because some of the components and some of the elements of these missiles, they are continue producing in the United States. So that's why I think Britain waiting also. They are for this. They are for using this missile, and they are supporting this idea for Ukrainian Armed Forces. But of course, they are waiting also reaction of the Washington D.C. Why?
Why?
Because I think that this answer to this question in the doctrine of the nuclear deterrence. If we are talking about nuclear deterrence, so we need to understand that a lot of scholars, a lot of researchers in the United States, in other Western countries, they've been studying for long years. And they wrote a lot of papers, a lot of pieces, a lot of articles, a lot of books. A lot of everything, a lot of texts for different presidents, for different administrations, for different politicians. But the similar point to all of this text was to strengthen nuclear deterrence. How to do it? First of all, to have American nuclear missiles in Europe. Yes, to have warplanes, American warplanes in Germany, in Italy, and other NATO countries, in Turkey, and also to do not, and also to stop any movement from previously Soviet Union and now Russia, and any provocations which allow Russians to use their nuclear missiles, especially tactical missiles, with which Russians still have more than Americans. And that was a fear. But now we can see that why our delegation right now in the United States and why we are talking about this.
Yes,
So if let's imagine if United States are against this idea, and if they are against to giving us permission to use a long-range missile against military objects in Russian territory, so why we are continue talking about this? So why media continue discussing about this? So why we can see a lot of reports, a lot of articles in different medias, popular newspapers from United States, Germany, UK, France, and so on? Because now this idea on the table. So, and now we can see discussions about this because Ukraine destroyed another one red line, which was like idea of a lot of politicians, for a lot of scholars, for a lot of experts, as I mentioned previously, about the doctrine of nuclear deterrence. And now we can see what? Ukrainian Armed Forces on Russian territory, so why are you waiting for? And by the way, look, we can see the evolution of idea of using American-produced or Western-produced weapons on Russian territory. I mean that first, few months ago, Western countries allow for Ukrainian Armed Forces to use a lot of different types of weapons, HIMARS, MLRS, yes, other types of MLRS such as M270, artillery, warplanes also with glide bombs.
Yes.
As we now can see how our aviation are really successful in destroying of bridges in the river of the Seine. So the next step need to be to give us permission to use long-range missile, because it lacks the logic of this war, because it's coming from the with the and this, you know, underlining and supporting with arguments from Ukrainian side, because now we can see on practice that we can continue offensive on Russian territories, and we can doing a really great things, a really gorgeous things for believing that Ukraine can win during this war. But we need very important argument to use long-range missile. Why? Because if we will have this permission, we can destroy a lot of types of military objects and targets on Russian territory. And not only airfields and air bases, but also we can speak about ammunition, tanks depots, artillery shells depots, a lot of storages, a lot of places where Russian forces, Russian military vehicles, Russian armor, Russian weapons could be. So that could also destroy just Russian potential for this war. And that's really important. And I think that now we are coming closer to the moment when I hope administration of the President Joe Biden will allow us to use this long-range missile, because it coming from the logics of this war. The next step need to be to use attack MS, and the next step need to be to use JSSM missile for F-16 warplane, which can destroy a lot of military objects, and that could be very hard for Russians' air defense system to intercept these missiles. So we are coming closer to this moment, I think. And by the way, if we look on this situation, when Ukrainian delegation right now in Washington, D.C., and also they show a lot of arguments why we need to have this permission, but also we need to see some technical details because of targets. So Ukraine gives, the letter with the targets,
Yes, at least.
rare targets, maps, and so on. So that's really important. If we are talking right now about some technical details, so I suppose that we are moving closer to this idea to use long-range missile against Russian military objects. And now also, when probably offensive operation in Kursk by Ukrainian Armed Forces will be provided not so fast, and probably will be different types of this operation. We will continue to concentrate on encirclement of Russian forces near the same river and so on. So when we are talking just about the keeping of this territory in Kursk Oblast, we will talk about also not only offensive operation, not using long-range missile for continuous offensive operation, but for defensive operation. So, and also, when I'm reading a lot of publications in Western media, a lot of articles about that, look, you have a very hard situation, not very good situation near Pokrovsk. So, everyone need to understand, if you want to help us near Pokrovsk, you need to give us permission to use long-range missile. That will be the best investment in Ukrainian defense and in defense of the all European countries.
I agree that we are more than effective in application such long-range and strong weapons by our allies, and we have already occupied more than 100 settlements in Kursk region, like Alexander Syrskyi reported this week for us. But I have to detail, but will not this decision be too late, because Russia has already relocated 90% of the aircraft, and Russia promised that they will give a strong response to the European countries if they allow their weapons to be used against Russia. We see that Colonel General Andrei Kartapolov said that Russia will respond sensitively and asymmetrically to Western countries for lifting restrictions on the use of European weapons. What could be this asymmetric grand answer?
He doesn't know himself. So he doesn't know himself.
Agree.
Because look, I suppose that we heard about this idea to use symmetrical, asymmetrical response from Russian side. I think that from April 2022, when Russians made a lot of statements from different official point of views and closer to official point of views, like such as MPs Russian, like Grulov, Kartapolov, and so on, and others, they are the same. So they are telling the same, with changing sometimes some, words in their text, but the same. We can see sense. So when Ukrainian armed forces began to use artillery from Western produced artillery, first of all M777 artillery shell system, I remember when we began when NATO countries began supplying Ukraine with different types of weapons, artillery and not only artillery, and also with MLRS HIMARS, M142, I remember these statements. I remember also what Putin said in one of the interview for the federal propagandist media. He told that we will destroy everything. I remember a lot of statements by Lavrov, by Medvedev, also the former president of Russia. They told and wrote really long texts, and nothing happened. So I think that now we can see also, and our partners, they need to understand that when we can see a lot of Russian texts, a lot of Russian blackmails, that means that Russia will do nothing. Because we heard this a lot of previously, and Russians did nothing. Yes, their continue aggression against Ukraine. They continue this terrible blood war. They continue to use different types of missiles for launching a huge air attacks against Ukraine. Yes, they continue this, but also Ukraine continue fighting for our freedom, and Ukrainians continue to do this. They didn't stop us. So I hope that also our European partners, they can see that sometimes Russians do a lot of statements. They are saying a lot, but we cannot see any actions or actions that we didn't see previously. We know right now what to expect from Russians. Again, they can use a lot of missiles. Yes, probably on September they can try to damage to destroy Ukrainian electricity power grid stations and so on and so on. But this doesn't mean that they will begin nuclear war or Russians will use nuclear tactical missile and so on. So I hope that Western countries now will understand this clearly, that they're not gonna be afraid of Kartapolo, doesn't matter who, Zakharova,
Medvedev,
or someone else. No, they do not need to be afraid. And of course, they need to continue their counterintelligence actions against Russian agents in the European countries, in different countries. That's the problem also. Because look, what Russians try to do, they are trying to use different types and different mechanisms of hybrid warfare right now against European countries. So I hope that our European colleagues will really pay attention for this, and they continue their counteroffensive actions and protect their military and defense industries, their political landscapes, and also to help in Ukraine for this. And about Kartapolov will continue. Yes, of course, he will also asymmetric. What he means, he doesn't know.
Yes, good luck for him. So fixed, no fear, only bluff from Russia Federation. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has declared that Ukraine's incursion into Russian Kursk region is lawful and falls under Kyiv's rights to self-defense, reports Reuters about it. And he added that NATO was not informed in advance about Ukraine's plans and didn't play any role in them. So how can we assess Stoltenberg's statement regarding the Kursk invasion of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, and how strongly does it demonstrate that powerful Western players no longer reckon with Russia and Putin in this question?
Well, you know that it's really important to see that our Western partners support in Ukraine. Moreover, some of them want to make next steps. They want to underline their supporting for Ukraine, and maybe you know that they've been the part of planning of this incursion or something. I don't mean NATO right now and what Secretary Stoltenberg told, but in his interview for German media. But I'm speaking about, look, we can compare statements from United Kingdom, yes, when they told to the Times of London that look, British-produced tanks, they are right now in actions in Kursk direction. Ukrainian Armed Forces using them. Just a lot of examples when they told. Also, example from Czech that they are also supplying and supporting this from the Czech Republic, from Netherlands, and so on. So you know, when you have success, your partners also want to be the part of success, and that's a very normal situation, and that's how the history of success working, and that's why we have a really good point, and that was a really great idea and plan to do and to provide this Kursk incursion and this military operation that really works, and we can see right now. The next step, Russians expected that probably United States, France, Britain, Germany, Italy, and so on will accuse or will be criticize Ukrainian politicians that we did it and we began this operation. But nothing happened.
Yes, yes.
They are supporting this.
Yes.
By the way, look on other very important example. Russians invited the director, the chief of MAGATE, Rafael Grossi,
Yes,
to Kursk, and they wanted to show the picture, and they wanted to claim to Ukrainians that Ukraine attacked Russia, Kursk nuclear power plant with drones, or also with HIMARS MLRS. But Grossi didn't believe this, and he told that we don't know what types of drones and where from these drones came. So that's also very important. And of course, Peskov and Zakharova, they criticized Grossi. They invited him, and then they criticized him. So look, that's crazy. If we look on this, so Russians didn't expect that Western countries will support Ukraine, and that's also a bad sign for them, and a very good sign for Ukraine, and a very good sign that can show for us that we are still united, that Western countries, United States and Europe, they are staying with Ukraine firmly. That's really important in our battle for freedom and democracy.
So we are moving on our next topic, F-16's crash. Alexander, for example, for me, I understand several things. First of all, we are very sorry for the professional legendary pilot, Alexei Mess. It is also obvious that no war with such a powerful enemy cannot be done, unfortunately, without losses. You told about it too for us in our other interviews. So why did Zelenskyy decide to change the commander of the Air Force, of the Armed Forces of Ukraine now? Maybe it's another topic. And what should we understand about the possible causes of the F-16's crash and the beginning of the investigation?
Well, first of all, I agree that it's a very bad situation. Really pity when we can say that we lost our people, especially pilots for F-16, and my condolences for his family and relatives and friends. What I need to say, first of all, for everyone, I understand. For everyone, it was like shocked, really. Because, look, Ukraine got F-16, we've been waiting so long, and for us, maybe in some minds of the people, it was like, we will get them and we will win this war. We can win this war, but if we will get not 5, 10, 15 or 20 planes, if we will have more than 100. So that also means. But why I'm saying about shocking also, and we saw articles in different American medias about this. Yes, and why? Look, we need to say first in the history of using F-16 by any country which have right now F-16. We can see first in history that F-16 using for protection the sky and like air defense system in the situation when the enemy launched so much missiles and drones. This were a really big attack. And if we are talking about this attack, that really we can see the first example of using F-16 for destruction and destroying missiles and drones. So that's the first point to understand. That's why the situation was really hard. And I understand this. Imagine how many targets in our sky were during those period, during August 26, and that was really hard to destroy everything. And Ukrainian Armed Forces been using different types of weapons to destroy this missiles and drones. So, first point, very hard situation, first in the history, F-16 using in when enemy launched so much missiles. First point. Second point, Ukraine, and this is our position, and this emphasized by President and our government, that we are really want to have a clear investigation of the situation, open investigation with our partners, with American side, with our partners from Europe. We are interested to know the truth and to show this truth for our partners. Maybe not non-public, but to show this. Third point, very important. I think that doesn't mean this situation, this tragical accident, catastrophe, that Western countries will, do something else than we saw previously. So they gonna not stop to continue study our pilots, and also they will continue to supply us with jets, with F-16s warplanes. That's also very important. And the next point, when we are talking about the change in something in the from the commanders, for example, commander of the Air Force, a president can do this according to Constitution as like Supreme Commander in Chief. So I even don't want to comment this episode because this is his. He can do this, and also we do not know all the facts and why the president decided to do this. Because we need to understand that some of these issues could be closed. It could even be the secret, state secret, top secret, and so on. So we even don't need to know this. But very important to know that Ukraine open and interested to continue and cooperate with partners in every issues, and even in these issues when we can see some catastrophe or accidents. Next point, we are continue, and of course we can see, and of course we expect that we will use this experience that we saw for better using F-16 in the future. Because for all of us, for Ukraine, this is exam, and for our partners, this is exam, because F-16s didn't been using in such huge attacks like this. And the next point, we will do everything to strengthen our capabilities in our sky, to continue building our sky shield, and we hope that our partners will be on our side and will support us in this.
Thank you. Here, Alexander, 2 minutes, please. Russian government agencies responsible for public opinion surveys acknowledge a surge in discontent among Russians towards President Vladimir Putin, reports the American Institute for the Study of War. How much did Putin really reset in the eyes of the Russians, and will this trend grow, and maybe any protest possible in Russia now?
Well, that's very hard to predict. Protests, and hard to predict, especially revolution. We cannot predict this, but what I can see is that I've noticed that now a lot of situation in Russia remind historical experience. It looks like Russia now in the end of 1916, and the next year will be 1917. And I want to remind that in 1917, in Russia, Russian Empire on those times, happened very different, interesting situations. Also revolutions happened. Bolshevik revolutions happened. So I think that, for me personally, current situation in Russia remind like, the 1916, and the next will be 1917. Because Russians also want to show that everything fine, everything perfect. Putin looks like very confident. Everything will be okay. We will have, Russians think that they will have huge success on the front line. They can capture Pokrovsk and so on, and they can move forward. And everything fine will be in the economy. during the period of Russian Empire, they've been thinking the same. But what's happened next? Revolution happened. So everything could repeat, I think, because we saw different types of protests in Russian history, but it's very hard to predict when this is going to happen. But I suppose it may be next year.
Black Swan can be. Excellent forecast and professional analysis. Thank you for it, Alexander. Thank you for today's conversation. See you later. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexander Musienko, military expert. My name is Irina Uzlova. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, please. And save yourself and believe in our armed forces. We will win. Exactly. Goodbye.